guys, welcome back to the Get Real Girlfriend podcast. This is episode number 8, and today I'm super excited to introduce a couple of, honestly, my favorite people, favorite clients that I've worked with, that were just like the exemplary, like perfect image, in my opinion, of like the masculine and the feminine, and like putting in the work to cultivate the birth that you and your baby and your entire family deserves. And like, these two people right here, Jessica and John, were just such a pleasure to work with and were influential in my own life with your guys' relationship. I swear, I've told you guys before, but yeah, they've just been such a beautiful pair team to watch, and how they worked through their whole like pregnancy preparation and just their teamwork and support for each other, and just how they work together was just one of the most incredible things that I got to witness. And do you want to talk a little bit about, why you guys came to me in the first place and kind of how it developed from there?
Yeah. So basically I found you on TikTok. I was obsessed with all of your videos, and I would send them all to John, and we'd be like, oh my God, who is this girl? She's amazing. Like, just everything you said, what totally correlated with all of our beliefs and our train of thought. And like every day I would see something that you would post and I would send it to him. And then I was having difficulty getting pregnant, as well as like getting my period. So I scheduled a time to talk to you before I was pregnant. I think it was just one time, and we did like a 30-minute, like the quick talk.
Right.
And after that, I was like, okay, I need to talk to her again. And after that first 30-minute talk, I got pregnant in between the two. So our talk kind of changed from how to get pregnant to how to foster a really great pregnancy and childbirth. So yeah.
Yeah, and you really just validated everything, all the research that we were doing prior to meeting with you. And we were just like, you're exactly what we needed to guide us on this journey. So
yeah, it was, thank you so much. You guys are so big and sweet. And like, it was so cool to work with you guys, because you were already in such alignment with my own philosophy. And you guys, like, one of the coolest parts about working with you guys is you took seriously any like piece of advice or a tool or, something that you could implement into your lifestyle to better increase your chances for cultivating what you wanted, for getting what you guys wanted.
I think that's because a lot of people just, they get scared and nervous around authority, and they want to just appease authority.
Totally.
And they're closed-minded. And
so,
we do not vibe with that at all. So like when we hear new advice, it makes sense. I'm going to implement it in my life. I've done that with everything, and it works out.
It does. It totally does. I think that's a perfect segue into, can you tell everyone, like, what is your guys' philosophy? Like, what did you want? What was your goal that you had set in your intention of working with me, and how you wanted that to look with your birth and like the providers you were working with and everything? Like, how was that?
You want to talk on that?
Well, it goes back to what we just were talking about. We trusted everything that you were saying. We've seen so many ups and downs in other people's lives with their pregnancy stories, and how that they've gone down that intervention cascade.
Right.
Just wanted to seek alternatives to it.
Totally. Because Jess, didn't you say that like all of your girlfriends that you knew that already had kids, like it was either C-section or induction, or like, what were you hearing from your girlfriends, and like how was that kind of playing into this route that you guys took?
Yeah, so basically the hospital that I was originally, that my OB was at, basically everybody in our group of friends delivers there. And coincidentally, almost everybody in our group of friends has had a C-section. And I'm like, this isn't normal. So like the more research I did on it, the more I got into like TikTok holes about births and how births are in different countries and how abnormal it is to have all of these C-sections. Like the percentage of C-sections in that hospital you had also asked me to ask them like what's their percentage, and theirs was like one of the highest in the United States at this specific hospital. So I was like, I need to get out of here, and I need to find whether it be another hospital or do it at home. But I just knew I didn't want that C-section. I knew that I wanted a natural birth. I wanted to bring Johnny into this world, into his like comfortable and as calm as a situation. Both of our mothers both had natural births. So I think that was something that's been in my head for a long time, even before I've kind of came down this road of more of a natural lifestyle and being more conscious about what I'm putting into my body, just because my mom always is like, oh yeah, like I did it without an epidural. Like I had a great labor for both my kids. And I was like, oh, I can do it too then.
Yeah, it definitely gave you confidence.
Yeah. And that's so helpful to have people in your family to have those positive experiences influencing you, because I feel like a lot of us are raised to think that birth is like the most traumatic and painful experience that you can go through, which is why a lot of women opt into or opt out of feeling the experience, like, right, like being present. We opt for the drugs and to just follow the doctor's orders and whatever, but it was just so cool that you guys decided to be the outlier and like, you know, not do what everyone else was doing in your friend group and whatever, and like really lead by example, right? We talked about that, how influential it is to live your truth, and that you are setting such a great example by just purely living in your truth and being that example of how incredible it can be when you just trust your body and have faith that you were designed correctly, and that when you cultivate the environment and like diet that's conducive to your body functioning properly, right? Like it's incredible what can happen. And so I was just, you know, they did end up obviously getting the birth that they worked for. Like you guys worked for that birth and like created that environment and that mindset, and like nutritionally provided the resources necessary too for you to be able to like do the labor and bring your baby into the world in such an incredible way. And you guys want to talk a little bit about kind of like what you were eating, where you guys were sourcing some of your stuff from, and because like I love that about you guys.
Yeah, so basically just during like, especially leading up to like the last few weeks of my pregnancy, eating a lot of steak, a lot of eggs.
I mean, you were doing it the entire pregnancy.
Well, yeah, but especially
right.
Liver pills, bone broth.
We were doing a lot of this. And you were what?
We were making our own bone broth. So we had sourced, we had a freezer full of grass-fed, grass-finished cow that my parents had purchased, and we split some of it with them. We signed up to a quasi-local Amish farm that has A2 cow. Well, everything's grass-fed, everything was raw, organic, no pesticides, no herbicides, and we had our freezer full of good, healthy bones. We would make our own bone broth. She would.
And you hunt too, right?
Yeah, the freezer was also filled with raw elk meat.
Yes.
And we were basically living on that every other day.
Totally.
Yeah, we have a 8-foot freezer filled with like 400 pounds of amazing elk meat.
Like the best thing you guys could have been eating. And you were eating this way. You guys, so like they talked about how they're eating it during pregnancy. But Jessica, I think like another part of the reason that you had such a healthy pregnancy and everything was because you were eating so clean and so consciously, like this nourishing, more traditional diet, like pre-conception too, because your intention was to get pregnant. So you were eating, you obviously refined it quite a bit like during pregnancy and then like leading up to the birth. But I was really impressed with that you guys were already hunting and eating a more, you know, game rich, like animal based, but like really conscious and high quality nourishing diet. And, you know, Jessica was actually on birth control for years and years before getting pregnant, and got off 2 years before she got pregnant, which I told her is like one of the most incredible amounts of time that you can give your body after coming off of hormonal birth control to kind of reset the system. 2 years, in my opinion, is a really great time, especially if you've been on birth control for some amount of years, to like really get your hormones, to get those stored nutrients back, to get those detoxification pathways open, to really get your body into that state of balance. And what women need is that state of abundance to be like vibrantly fertile, because that tells us that we have the adequate resources to build a human and then to sustain that human life. And so Jessica's body was really smart and said, nope, like we're not ready to have a baby yet. We want to wait. Like your body, I'm telling you, like it's crazy how intelligent your body was, and that it was so perfect that your body gave you that time to really get so healthy. And Jessica's super active, and you know, it's amazing what they were able to do. But do you guys want to talk about like some of the birth preparation that you did, maybe some of the stuff that we talked about that you resonated with or that really helped you to like prepare for the birth? Or
Yeah, so basically talking with you, you kind of got my head straight on a lot of things. I was having a lot of issues during my pregnancy with like my body image. So that was really the only thing that I struggled with during pregnancy. So I basically used you as like my pregnancy therapist, and I would talk to you every week, and we would talk about my birth plan and like the different stages of labor, and spend about like 30 minutes doing that and like the nitty gritty scientific stuff. And like how to like, just so I knew what was going on when my body started going through that. But then we would also spend like 30 minutes talking about me and how I was feeling. So like, that was great, because there was some points of my pregnancy that were harder than others. Like, even though I felt great, like still it's really hard seeing your body change like that. And you really like helped me love what was going on. And I also like felt kind of guilty because it took me a little bit of time to get pregnant. And I'm like, at the same time, I should be loving every second of this. I should be loving this belly. I should be loving this body that's making this child. And now I look back and I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait to be pregnant again. I can't wait to like enjoy this belly and like really just like be like, okay, your body will go back. Like that's what it's made to do. You're going to be able to do everything you want to do. I mean, I did everything that I normally do my whole entire pregnancy. Nothing stopped me. Maybe like the last 2 weeks, I slowed down a little bit, but
barely.
Yeah, I was still like walking and working out every day. But yeah, so we talked every week. It was amazing.
Yeah, getting off the calls with you every week was so cool. Watching her, like she was glowing after talking, because you gave her such confidence that she had, but you really just brought it out to the surface, and she was just bubbling and so excited to continue growing our baby.
I love you guys. And it was so cool to watch, and like that's part of the experience of entering motherhood, right? It's like a death and rebirth. That it's so unfair to yourself to say like, I need to enjoy every single second, but now you understand, because you walk through that portal. Like you understand now. You have that reverence. You have that deep understanding. You walk through the fire and you experience that, and like you confronted all of those like preconceived judgments towards your body. We talked about, you know, maybe some of it came from your mom and like different expectations and whatever it is, and like all of that really comes to the surface for women in pregnancy and birth. Like that's part of the dying off, and bringing in that radical self-awareness and those tools and skills, and like talking through some of that just really helps like uproot that and replace that with that awe and deep understanding and gratitude for how incredible the female body is, especially when, right, like you put in the work to keep it in like peak condition, and you send all that love into you, and you do give your body that respect and beautiful understanding the space to function at its peak. It's like, it was so cool to watch you transform? Because I know, John, you said just through the kind of meditations, just like those mindfulness exercises that we talked about that, really help with getting your mind ready and sharp for being present and kind of riding those waves with a little bit more control and confidence during birth. And how did those, like, how did you change from the beginning of your pregnancy to the end? And like, what were those exercises and what did you notice, John? Because I just love this.
I mean, I would say the diet and exercise was 50% of the battle, and you inspired her to journal every day, which was uncomfortable at first for you. You didn't know what you were doing. But the more you did it, the better you got, and then you got excited about doing it. You enjoyed that time to write down all your feelings and really embrace what you were going through at that time. And that, I think, really getting her mind right gave like a super physiological response, which it's crazy to think about, but it really affects your stress level, which affects your cortisol levels, which actually provides a physical response once your mind is prepped and ready and engaged and just bought into the whole experience. And that was one of the coolest things throughout this whole process, watching you blossom into that person. And it's honestly magical, because she is a different person now. She's embraced her femininity completely. I mean, our relationship has only gotten that much stronger. Everyone talks about how, oh, you're going to have kids. Wait till the stress comes out with the kids. No, it brought us closer together. I know we're still
how
young.
It should be. No, that's that intimate of an experience of coming together and consciously crafting a human life. Like coming together and taking half of you and half of me to create one. That should be the pinnacle. That's the pinnacle of human existence, is coming together and creating something like that. And it should only bring you closer. Absolutely. Most people out there are doing it wrong, right? And like, that's when it's not often I get to work with a couple as just like plugged in as you guys, like you guys are just so tuned in and like connected to God and each other and like what life is really about. And like you guys have so carefully crafted such a meaningful connection with each other that it's palpable. It's palpable. And that's a huge reason of why it was such a joy to work with you guys, was simply just watching you guys work together as a team and knowing in my heart how that would translate to you guys being parents. And that has been totally proven right to me, that you guys would absolutely just be incredible parents, like 100%. And you really solidified that. And I'm just so, you said that through Jessica's like breath work and journaling and just like those awareness and mindfulness practices, that she really softened and just relaxed, like, right? Like just relax.
Yeah. She's amazing right now. She always was. We always had a really,
of course, it was there the whole time.
It's like she breathed a sigh of relief that was just keeping her a little bit tense. Mm-hmm. And it just, now she's just floating. Like it's unbelievable.
And that translated to being like, right, like walking into motherhood with just such ease. Like you said, you don't necessarily know how to do everything or have all the answers right now, but just simply having that peace that you worked so hard to unlock, right? Like it was there. All of that wisdom and everything, like your intuition, your wisdom, and that deep knowing that you have was literally there. All you had to do was just access it. Mm-hmm. And then it translated tenfold into you mothering. And, I just got some text messages from you, we'll talk about the hospital experience and whatever afterwards, but like just such heart melting text messages from you saying that like, you know, you just so deeply feel that all of this hard work that you and John put in is paying off, and it's just showing up so clearly in how you mother and your relationship with your baby and with John, and just, you know, like how beautiful it is. And it's just so special to read. And I'm just so grateful and like proud of you guys. And you deserve it. You earned it. You did it. You guys worked so hard for that. Like you put in the time and the energy. And that's how it should be. You know, like this creation should be so intentional. And you should put in the work, because like it's no joke having a child and being like, okay, like hopefully you influence the world in like a not shitty way, you know, like actually putting in the time and energy to make sure, to be certain that your kid will have nothing less than a beautiful and great influential mark left on this world because of you guys. But he gets to go out and he's going to be some unique, you know, his own human being, but because you guys laid that foundation, right? Like that's what you did. You laid a solid, concrete, like that's, it's not going anywhere, you know, foundation for him to stand really tall on. And then I loved that you guys, you know, you came to me and you're like, you know, we have these goals for our birth. We want to stay in the hospital. So I just want to preface this. They did birth in a hospital, but like in the most incredible way, to my surprise. And, you know, I trusted you guys though. Your guys' experience with your providers and just the whole hospital in itself. And, you know, it was really reassuring, you know, for me, because you know, Jessica and John were kind of like, you know, like sort of on the fence of home birth, birth center, probably maybe birth center, but like still hospital, because, you know, you wanted to ensure that if anything did go wrong, obviously you were preparing for the best or hoping for the best, but you guys were preparing for the best too, but you're just like, you know, in the small chance or case that something does go wrong, like you just felt safer in the hospital. And that's the thing. Every woman should birth where she feels the safest. If you're going to birth at home and you still are like not totally invested or committed to that and like trusting of that, it's going to have a negative effect on your nervous system, which is going to, you know, not necessarily going to, but can play a role in how the birth goes. Mm-hmm. It's just, women need safety, silence, privacy, warmth, and darkness to have a normal, physiologic, positive, efficient birth. Mm-hmm. And, you know, you guys knew that you would feel the best in a place, in a hospital, but that would honor your requests and goals, which you guys found like the literal unicorn of hospitals. And I'm so glad, like, you guys are like master manifestors or something, because that was just the craziest and coolest thing ever, because they got the birth that they wanted, and they were honored by their midwives, by their nurses. You had an incredible experience with the hospital staff there, which is just so cool. And I wish I hope that starts happening more often. And it is like slowly starting to happen more often, which is really cool. But how do you like show them what birth should be like, right? You guys showed them how birth can look when you're informed and prepared. Right? Absolutely. And what, do you have something to say about it?
Yeah, I think that like also the reason why the hospital birth worked for us is because John is such a strong advocate. I was not afraid that we were going to be pressured into anything. And if they did try to pressure us into something, John would have shut it down so quickly. Yeah. So in my head, I just was relaxed and focused on getting the baby out. And I didn't even know what was going on around me. I just had full trust in John to tell everybody exactly how we wanted it. And since from the moment we stepped in there was like a few hiccups where like everything obviously wasn't perfect. But
close to it. There were a couple things where I had to step in and escort.
Like what?
There were a couple people that were talking too loud, just walking in, that he clearly didn't read the birth plan. Everyone was whispering, and then a new person would walk in, like almost screaming. They were so loud and just completely taking the vibe out of the room. And I calmly said, "Hey, listen, like, yeah, we would be better off if you just maybe just reread the birth plan, or just get out until you're ready to cultivate our quiet, like, environment that we wanted to." It was fine. It wasn't like a fight or anything. Oh, sorry. She changed her tone real quick and brought back that peace, almost to you. Almost didn't even notice it.
I didn't even notice.
But a couple things like that, not a big deal. One, there was a comment about us not wearing masks, and I was like, stop. she quickly cut that out real quick.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you guys are in Baltimore, which is still a little bit like on that sort of more liberal side of the scale. But yeah, I
think the hospital was wearing masks up until what, like,
a
month ago.
Right.
So the staff was wearing masks, and I think like technically the husbands were supposed to, but they really enforce that. Obviously, they don't make
they weren't going to tell us what to do.
Yeah.
I just love how, John, you held the space for her, because like as the birth partner, as the husband, the father of the child, I think it is so important for you as that person to be able to like protect the space. And I feel like that's such a perfect example of how the masculine is supposed to show up for the feminine, just in life, right? To cultivate that feeling of safety and protection so that you can relax, right? And so doing that in the birth space is just such a great example, and like another huge reason why you guys were so just impactful by just being yourselves on my own life, of, you know, just that insanely calibrated relationship that you have, and how perfectly, you know, like plugged into that masculine and feminine role, but in like a really beautiful, smooth, effortless way. And that you just take on that role of like, you know, keeping the peace for your woman and being that support.
Yeah, I think we've worked on it a ton. I mean, yes, it comes natural because it is in our nature to be masculine and feminine, but we bring extreme intent in everything we do. Like, of
course,
we have one of the greatest aspects of our relationship is honestly our communication. We are open books with each other with absolutely everything. Any feeling of ill will, not ill will, but anything that throws us off balance, we don't hesitate at all with each other. We just right away, we express how we feel, we work on things, and we intentfully implement them. And it honestly, it's so great. I don't understand how anyone cannot do that, because it brings us so much closer. Because anything that's bothering either her or me, we listen to each other and we act on it. Like, there were moments where, I don't know, if I was being overbearing or something, you would come to me, I would implement it right away intentfully, and vice versa. If you were falling out of your feminine, being a little too masculine with certain things, I approached you, and she wrote little Post-it notes over the house. Are you in your feminine right now? And she implemented it. And then we still do that today, but honestly, right now I hate the word perfect, but we don't have any issues at all right now.
I think that embracing my femininity is why we really used to butt heads when I was super masculine. I think we talked about this like at the beginning when we started talking.
Yes,
like at the beginning of my pregnancy. Right? No, sooner.
When you were super masculine?
We butt heads a lot because I just was super controlling, super masculine, and tease that too. So we would just like go at it, and it would like fight and bicker, and finally I realized that
it's not your nature.
It's not in my nature. I don't want to be like that. And I think that really, like, I was slowly embracing my femininity, especially like when I like was trying to get pregnant, I was like, okay, I want to be a mother. I need to embrace this femininity. So when I become a mother, I can be the best mother. And then right before I think 2 months before I had Johnny, I got laid off from my job, which my job was causing me a lot of stress. And I think that my job was also harboring a lot of masculinity just because of that stress level. And once that was eliminated, I was totally able to sit back and just be.
Yeah, that was the biggest blessing, you getting laid off, because
Yeah.
she always in the back of her head didn't really want to go back to work after she was having Johnny. And that was always her plan, kind of unwritten. She was going to feel it out. That was one of her biggest fears. I can't, she would always say, I can't imagine not working. I can't imagine. I'm like, are you sure? Wait till you become a mom and let's take it step by step and see how you feel. And she can't imagine going back to work now, but that's your personal choice. But but work meaning like a 9 to 5, being accountable in an office,
Right.
and like she has a boutique she's running.
Because you make jewelry, right?
I have an online boutique. Yeah.
Okay. See,
Mhm.
and like that's a huge thing that like I'm happy that you said that, because
I mean,
for
corporate work is what I mean.
right, like
Like
Other people money.
Yeah.
literally like a slave job, not doing
Yeah.
something that you actually feel fulfilled doing, because it's
Yeah.
not just motherhood that a woman can feel fulfilled doing. Obviously, it's our highest honor and like our most important thing that we'll ever do is raise a child. Like,
Mhm.
absolutely, you know, but it's like you can still be feminine and like, you know, have hobbies and like do these little, like have your own business still, you know, but so long as it's something that feeds your soul and doesn't
Yeah.
take from it. And like why do you think that you couldn't envision yourself walking away from that position that was causing you the stress?
It's scary walking away from a solid paycheck. So yeah, like I knew that paycheck would be able to provide for our family if something was to ever happen to John's job. I wasn't making a ton of money, so it's not like it wasn't detrimental that I lost the job.
Oh, you're doing
But
well.
yeah, but
You were
you're able to
successful.
provide for our whole family.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good situation
Yeah.
for sure.
So it was so I worked in retail. It was something that I worked really hard to start working in retail. I started off in product development and then ended my career in merchandising. So it was also like it started off as kind of a passion for me. And then the longer I worked, the more I was like, it was just felt like I was like sitting behind the desk, like you said, like a slave to like the corporate ladder. I was sick of the politics. Like I felt like I was really good at my job, and there's a lot of people that weren't. And just because of corporate politics, those people would be the ones that were at the top of the ladder. And I just didn't really want to, I just had a sour taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
Cool.
And
Yeah. Now you have the freedom to be creative and do whatever you want. You have
Exactly.
passion projects, and she's working on a bunch of stuff, and it's really cool.
Yeah. And then we have real
Awesome.
estate too. So I'm able to like do some of that as well, try and scope out more of
Investment
that.
properties.
Yeah. So that
And you
like
can do that with your baby strapped to your chest, huh?
exactly like I can, and I
Yeah.
don't have to drop him off at daycare because like the thought, like when he hit his 12-week mark, I literally like when I sat with John and I cried because I was like, I feel so bad for all of the moms that have to bring their kids to daycare. Like, I'm so grateful that
Don't want to.
Yeah, that don't want to. I'm so grateful that you have set us up that I don't need to go back to work and I can enjoy this time with Johnny, because like 12 weeks, he was so little still. Like bringing him to a daycare and just being like, here, and then you have to go and sit. I would have cried every day for
Still
at my desk. I wouldn't have physically been able to work.
Yeah.
That's just you though. And
Yeah, there's plenty of people that works for them, but for me, that didn't work. And the weird thing is my mom was the same way. I would always be like, oh, I'll never stay at home like you did. Like, it's just not me. I want to be a working woman. And then she was like, yeah, just wait till that baby comes out. Cause she said the moment I came out of her, she looked at my dad and was like, I'm not going back to work. And he was like, okay, I guess we're going to make it work.
Yeah. So how do you like motherhood then?
I'm
Pretty.
Yeah, it's the best thing in ever.
It's the coolest thing to watch. Like before motherhood, she was very insecure about her abilities to tap into her natural instinct to be a mom. That was like your biggest fear
Yeah.
of, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how to be a mother. Is there like a handbook?
Yeah, I was always afraid to
That
like
was
even
always
hold
your
babies.
biggest fear. And now, as soon as he came out, it's like a switch was flipped, and it's unbelievable to watch how natural it is.
Mhm.
It's incredible. She's like, you're the best mom ever. I'm not just saying that because you're my son's mom. It's crazy. Like watching her hold him and just start tearing up out of nowhere because he made a little smirk at her. It's just the coolest thing in the world. It's magic every day I get to see it. It's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that your ability to like really tune in to that intuition and just like natural instinct has a lot to do with, because like, right, like not every mom, depending on the circumstances, depending on your environment, depending on your level of support that you have in your life, depending on your diet, health conditions, whatever it is, like, that natural instinct and ability to like really just like sync up and like connect with that human, that like precious life that you just brought into the world. Like not every mom gets that, right? And there's so many factors that play into that. And like I think they're really clearing that space, like spiritually, like mentally, psychologically, and like cultivating that really strong, natural, healthy body. And just kind of having all those pieces lined up really enabled you to get into that flow of like really just surrendering to that connection with your baby.
Mm-hmm.
And I really do think that that's a huge reason why a lot of women like don't necessarily, because I've attended births of women who like do not connect with their baby right away, and that feel very, like it's a task, a chore to keep this human alive until one day, just because of repetition and staying in their lives, eventually, if like that love grows. And it's like that's not the way nature intended, right? Unless there was like a defect with the baby, in the wild, they'll like sometimes leave a like defective or whatever baby, but like you're supposed to feel that insane, like undying loyalty and that unfathomable love, right? Like everyone talks about like you never know what kind of love, how much love you're gonna feel until you are holding your baby in your arms. And that's how it's supposed to be, that moment of euphoria and just bliss of finally getting to meet this human that you have been growing and like putting all of this love and energy and time and information and preparing to welcome them into the world. Like you put all of that in to be able to foster that connection.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's not supposed to be any other way. And so that's why I like really wanted to have you on my podcast, because you are the perfect example in every way, shape, and form of how a man and wife are supposed to work together and like really get into that rhythm, into that strong, stable place in your relationship, and that the communication and everything has led to your ability to really carefully craft this birth that now set your son up for so much success and love and just being treasured by you guys. Like you can literally see how much you love each other and him, how much this experience has shaped you for the absolute best. And it's so incredible for me to get to witness as working with you guys. I feel like I basically did nothing. I feel like you guys worked so no, I mean, but you guys were just so easy. You were so easy. You just got it. You know, like everything we talked about, you know, there was no question. You guys just got it. And, you know, the proof is in the pudding. Like you guys, your end result was exactly what you wanted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't change a thing.
So walk us through the birth really quick then. Or however, whatever. I mean, the birth is pretty quick itself, right? So like, how was it?
Amazing.
Start from your water breaking.
Well, the birth was amazing. Literally everything that I journaled about was exactly how my birth went. And like, as soon as I was done, I was like, okay, I want to do this again. Like, I want to be pregnant right away again.
Oh, there was one thing we need to change.
What?
Next time I'm wearing a GoPro.
Yeah.
Seriously, oh my gosh.
That's serious. Yeah. I'm going to.
Like, I wish and that there, like, I wish that we would have had like more pictures of the moment, because we were it was just the two of us, and they really honored that wish of it really on our birth plan of it just being me and John. Like the first midwife literally sat in the corner of the room while I was pushing and let John do everything.
Yeah,
which is crazy. That's like you don't even hardly hear about that with like, because like I've attended birth center births where the midwife will not get the F away from the mom. Like their hands never leave the mother. And I'm like, what are you doing? And it was just so crazy to hear that your guys' midwife at a hospital
well, they thought I was a doctor. And they were like, all right, this guy knows.
You were a doctor. Awesome.
Are you a doctor? Just because he kept on like using all of the lingo.
Oh man, like you need to write a handbook, John. You need to write like a glossary for all of these parents so that everyone just respects their authority in the room.
Yeah, that's it. They respected his authority, so they just kind of.
That's crazy.
Yeah, as they were saying things, I would chime in and I would give my 2 cents, and I would like either agree with them or shut them down.
How it should be.
And
it's literally how it should be.
And they quickly realized, okay, like we can't pull any fast. Not that they were going to pull any fast ones, but they were like, all right,
they have procedures and you know, like they're common things that they do with every birth, you know, and so they had to kind of sit on their hands here. So it's so cool to hear that your midwife was acting like a traditional midwife, like really something you would only see at a home birth.
Yeah,
and like not even most home births are like that. So that's just nuts.
Yeah, it just got out of the way completely.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of walked in there like what's like a bullet? Like what's the expression?
A bull in a china shop? Or
I don't know.
No.
Like that's not it. What's the expression? I can't think of it. But because my labor came on so quickly.
Yeah.
So like my water broke in the middle of the night, and like I was in full-fledged like active labor. And like could barely get out of the house. Like for a second, I thought that I was gonna like give birth at our house, but we live around the block. We live.
Yeah, they're 5 minutes from the hospital. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, like when I could, I got my pants on because that was hard in itself because I kept on just like dropping to the floor every 30 seconds whenever I would have a contraction.
And yeah, you were on all fours.
Yeah. And then we got to the hospital, and because it was the middle of the night, we had to go through the emergency room. And I had been to the hospital before because we had like a little like scare, which ended up being nothing. So I knew where to go. So like they were like checking us in, and I was like, I need to go. So I just like started walking to like where I needed to go.
And I was terrified because she was leaving. I was checking us in. I'm like, where are they taking her without me? You can't leave my side. I need to protect her.
Oh.
But someone eventually found me, and I got in like the wheelchair, and they brought me up and they brought me into the triage, and they were like, okay, we need to monitor you for 20 minutes. Cause like, that's typical hospital procedure. And I was like, no, you don't.
No, we're out of here.
I was full-fledged like transition period. Like I was so uncomfortable. I didn't know like if I wanted to be standing. I didn't know if I wanted to be bent over. Like I was just in that period where
Full-blown transition.
I need to get out of this little room and I need to get in my birthing space. So I think that the nurse in the triage was probably very new. But she was looking.
She was gonna have a heart attack. She's like,
well, we need to monitor you.
I'm like, nah, we're going to the room now. Get out of here.
I was like, I need to start pushing. So I think she like called someone and like someone came in there like, oh no, she needs to go into the birthing room. So they were filling the tub up for me, but I didn't even get to labor at all in the tub because at the hospital, they don't allow you to give birth in the tub. It's just for laboring. Right. And I was already ready to be pushing. So I never even got to go in the tub, unfortunately. But
they did such a cute job of setting the room up. They followed our birth plan. They shut all the lights off. They hung little Christmas lights up. The water was, it was great in there. What a great atmosphere. Quiet, calm, exactly what we wanted. Of the screaming. Which wasn't that bad.
Yeah, I was like pretty loud when my contractions are going on. It was just like, I'm normally like a really quiet person, and I was like, oh, that's never gonna be me. I'm never gonna like. I just didn't.
We were screaming together. Yeah. It was hilarious.
I think most women roar their babies out. Like it's so much energy and force moving through your body to get that baby out that like you have to release the energy from both sides, and the vocal cords, like it's the cervix, ovaries, and uterus. Like it looks so similar, and so there's theories that there's correlation that opening and vocalizing can help to open. And you know, did you guys implement any of the stuff? Like, did you have any time to even use the cheat sheet that I made for you, John? Did you refer to it at all?
That's a good question. Shit, I don't remember.
No,
I don't think so.
Like, cause
no.
Like, we're planning on him like pushing my hips and like doing all that.
Right.
That never happened.
It was so intense. There was no time for any of that. We were sitting in bed the night before. She's like, John, he needs to get out of me. We looked up some acupressure points. I started doing pressure points on her hand, her wrists, her ankles, and it worked. Like 3 hours later, she woke me up at 2:30 in the morning. She grabbed my arm. She goes, John, my water broke. It's happening now. The blood rushed out of my face. I felt like I was going to pass out. I was not ready. It was deep REM sleep. She gets up, the actual, like out of a movie, the whoosh of water falling out of her, hit the floor. It sounded like a waterfall.
Yeah.
And then she went straight into active labor, basically. And
badass.
We were not ready for that. And it was just like a kick in the stomach. But
awesome.
But that's cool as hell. Cool as hell.
Like, I want a quick labor. I want a natural birth. And it was awesome. Like we had everything ready. I had all of like the
you guys were so prepared.
I had like my sound machine. I had like my lights and my candles all ready, and barely was even able to like grab the bag as we were walking out the door. Like
it was like out of a movie. It had like 5 bags on my arm. I'm running down the steps.
Let's go.
Figured out how to get pants on her and got her in the car, rushed over there.
Yeah. I will say though, like because it was my first time having a baby. So like, I thought everybody's like, oh, you're in labor for 24 hours. So in my head, I'm like sitting in triage and I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to do this for 24 hours. Like, this is really hard. Like, not realizing that I was in the transition period and that this is the hardest part.
Absolutely.
I was like, I can't do this for 24 hours. But
literally,
as soon as I started pushing, I felt so much better. But it was just, I got a little nervous and I was like, oh my God, am I going to have an epidural?
Yeah, she rethought it for a quick moment.
So much pain. And I was like, I couldn't do that for 24 hours, be in that transition period, which I don't think anybody is.
You're like, man, if this is early labor, like active is going to stop.
Like, it's much of a risk that early labor is bad for me.
Oh, that's so funny. No, and like we kind of talked we like touched on it. You know, I told you guys, like, you know, I give you the general like overview. You know, average first time mom time of labor is 24 hours. second time usually half whatever the first time was. So like your next birth might be like shoo, like
Yeah. Seriously.
out of you, you know. So, you know, and like that is what's tough about going like straight into active labor. You know, like it does happen. I think if you are on the healthier end of the spectrum too, like it's kind of all over the board, you know, like it really depends. But I really do think that because you were in such good shape and worked out so regularly, ate so well and whatever, that you just like birthed like a freaking champ. Like you just birthed like a champ.
Rock star. It was insane. It was the coolest thing ever watching it.
Right.
It's like, who is this person? You're a machine.
Yeah. I felt so like it was the most tiring thing ever, but I also felt so powerful. And like after it was done, I was like, oh my God, I feel like the coolest person ever. Like
Yeah.
I have never been more proud of myself.
You were falling asleep between pushing.
Yeah. I kept on saying to John, I was like, oh my God, I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can do it. But like he was like, no, you're doing it. Like you're doing it. Like just you have a few more pushes left. We see him like because the pushing, it didn't hurt. It just was it was exhausting. Like I work out and it takes a lot out of you. And I was pushing for an hour and a half or 2 hours. I forget.
The whole thing was 4 hours and 45 minutes total. From water breaking in our bed to
so badass.
But the pushing
was like an hour and a half.
Yeah. And it was exhausting. And I kept on saying, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can do it. Like, is he getting close? And him and like all the nurses are like, every push you do, we see him getting closer.
I'm
so,
like, Jess, his head is
great.
right there.
Yeah.
It's there.
So it was awesome. And then he came out.
And how has he been? Like how did the nurses respond to you guys with your brand new baby in your arms? And then
they were great.
So
I mean, they let me catch him.
So John caught him and immediately threw him on my chest. And I don't even I wasn't such a like I don't even remember.
Totally.
Like when he says like he wants to GoPro, I'm like,
yeah,
I wish that you had a GoPro because I wish I could watch that moment over and over again. And he cool. Landed on my chest. I looked down at him and he was like kind of like inching his way to like my boob, wanting to feed
immediately.
And so I just immediately put him on. He latched on perfect and he started eating.
Yeah, it was incredible.
And I was really afraid about breastfeeding. That was another thing that me and you talked about a lot about was I think that like I wasn't breastfed as a child. So I think that subconsciously I thought like from like me being a baby, like go really far back there. I was like, oh, it's a little weird. But like now, like the second he latched on, I was like, oh, this is what I'm meant to do. Like, this is so natural and so cool and so beautiful and like not weird. Like it
at all.
Just like it felt so good being able to do that for him and being the fact that he latched on right away and I was giving him that nourishment that he needed and making him feel comfortable outside of my womb, that it was just awesome.
Yeah.
And then we just like laid there and did our golden hour and
they were great. They just, as soon as he came out, they kind of were very loving towards us. Congratulations, but they kept everything quiet. They let us have our moment while also praising us a little bit. And then they cleared the room, gave us our space, and
what happened?
We're great.
Yeah, but after, so he was laying on my chest for an hour, and I still didn't deliver the placenta.
Oh yeah, the placenta.
So after like, I think it was an hour. They came in. We're like, okay, like you need to get this placenta out. So his cord was all drained. Is that the right?
Oh yeah, but we waited. They were trying to get us to cut the cord fairly early, and I was like, nope, step away. And she was kind of giving me pushback, saying, well, you're not going to get any additional benefit, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, nope, step away.
So we laid for an hour, and then the cord looked empty, and John cut it. And then John did skin to skin with him while I delivered the placenta. which was very hard because I was very tired.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
like going through birth again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
Like,
sometimes
I don't want to do this. And the midwife was like, well, you have to.
You gotta get it out.
one way or another, it's coming out. Same with the baby. Like, it's the only
She was
way.
exhausted.
Yeah.
You found that power. You dug deep again. You found that energy.
Yeah.
You got it out, and then you enjoyed baby.
Yeah. And then as soon as it was out, I was like, okay, give him back to me.
Yeah. And
Because
then how it,
while I was pushing it out. So I needed
because you were doing what while pushing it out?
I was on my back at first trying to push the placenta out and it wasn't coming out. So I stood and was squatting.
Which is how you were birthing half of the time anyway. They put a bar over the bed that was like a leverage bar, and she was getting her best so my face was there the whole time, and I was seeing her different angles, how she was getting better traction whilst in the squat position. So that was like your most successful push, even though it felt a little weird for you.
Yeah, it did feel weird.
So that's what she was doing to get the placenta out. So she was doing that on the bar, and I was holding Johnny in the chair. We were doing skin to skin, and that's how you got the placenta out the best.
Yeah.
And then when it came out, I put them right back on her, and they were loving on each other.
Yeah, and I didn't want to move.
Yeah.
They were like, okay, you need to move to the what is it, like post
Yeah.
delivery area.
Yeah.
Oh. They're like, you don't want to get out of this gross bed? And I'm like, actually, yeah.
Yeah, let's get out of here.
I could go for a clean bed.
Good. And then how long were you there after that?
So
36 hours.
Yeah.
Long hours that were annoying. That was one thing we would like to change.
we were ready to go at 24. We had a really, really great nurse that they
Best.
paired us with. She was very, very like-minded as us. She was very natural. She understood all of our decisions and totally like didn't like pressure us to make any decisions that we didn't want to make. And she just was like such a great energy every time she walked into the room. She just was so happy to see us. Like she even mentioned that like how much she loved coming to visit us. She was like, I have to stop myself from walking in because I know you guys like don't mean me and want your privacy, but like I love the energy when I walk into the room. It's like so beautiful, and how calm you guys are, and how much like you love this baby. And she just was amazing.
Yeah, she wrote us a note 2 weeks later after we got home, right? We got a handwritten note from her, like saying how much she loved us.
She just was awesome. And so like she was taking care of us during the day, and then at night obviously we were sleeping. There was like someone that was coming in to like weigh him and stuff, but didn't really have a relationship with that person because we were sleeping.
No, we woke up and watched it, but
but not talking to her. We were this other girl. And she basically came in at 24 hours and was like, you guys are killing it. Like, you're ready to go. Like,
go home.
I'm discharging you. And she kept on trying to get, because she discharged me.
She discharged you, and then we needed
to have a pediatrician to discharge him. So she kept on calling and calling and calling to try and get a pediatrician up. And she's like, I'm going to see what I could do to see if like I can maybe discharge him, because he's been perfect. His weight is perfect. He doesn't have any signs of jaundice. Like everything has been perfect. Like there's no reason why you guys should still be here. But like, I guess there was only one pediatrician on staff. So we had to wait till 36 hours. So it would have been more ideal to get home at 24 and been home in the morning, but it was fine.
Yeah, it was fine.
Yeah.
Luckily we live across the street. I was able to go home, let the dog out, like
get
some stuff going. And,
that's so nice.
And run back.
So convenient.
Yeah, but if we were far away, it would have been annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so do you guys think you'll birth there again then with baby number 2, or?
I think that I'll plan on it. I think that I'll also have like a plan B that like if things are going the same way, maybe try to do it at home with John, because I know that John can do it.
Yeah.
It's just, I liked the midwives and all of the doctors for all of my appointments too. So I'll definitely still do that.
Yeah, totally.
Make
but
a
it really
game
was
time decision. See how you're feeling in the moment.
It really was a great, especially if like, because we're planning on moving soon, hopefully, to like further. Where we live is like kind of like a city-ish, so we're close to the hospital. where we plan on living is a little bit further away. So if I wake up in the middle of the night and like he's coming soon, I might not make it to the hospital with how fast he went this time.
And we'll be ready for the home birth. I think that we're gonna game time decision, whatever you're most comfortable with.
Yeah.
Plan on make a plan and wing it if we need to, but be prepared for a home birth.
Yeah.
Right.
I have a feeling it'll happen at the house.
He goes, I hope.
But based on how your first birth went,
yeah,
and how confident you are now in yourself and the process, I think your biggest concern was just a safety blanket of professionals stepping in, but you know that your body can do it.
You guys are basically professionals now.
Yeah.
Even the assurance that my body can do it, because I was like, oh my God, I'm like, my hips are really small and I'm pretty small. I was like, how is this gonna work? But literally like 2 weeks before Johnny came, I started feeling my hips, like,
oh yeah,
so much pain in my hips. My hips were moving.
She was limping. Like I had a stretcher
Yeah.
every night. I was doing the hip squeezes, and they worked.
It's so
They do.
crazy how
She was
like
in
my
pain.
body changed and still is changing, because my hips were opening up for him to come out, and then I could feel it literally as soon as he came, I could feel my hips starting to close. So that was kind of an issue that we had the first few weeks of Johnny. Was like, I couldn't walk
She had the cutest little limp.
because my hips were going back into the position, and I was going to the chiropractor. The chiropractor wasn't helping. I was stretching. That was helping a little. I think it just needed time.
yeah.
Still kind of having issues with my right hip. Like,
Really?
well, yeah, the other day when I went on the run, it hurt.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah, your first run official.
yeah.
5 months.
But it's just crazy how my body knew to open up and then they closed
It's
after.
those hormones softening the ligaments, the muscles, and the tendons so that it can expand more, something we talked about. And it's just crazy, I'm sure, to actually feel it happening. That's just insane that our bodies are just built to do that.
You guys are magic.
It's crazy. And then I would consider going to like a pelvic floor therapist or something too, just to have someone check out internally to see if there's like anything that needs to be worked out a little bit or something. I love, a good pelvic floor therapist. Maybe switch a chiropractor too and see if someone can give you like a different opinion as well. Not every chiropractor is built equal in my own experience.
Yeah, I don't want my hip
with our experience with doctors too, like the biggest takeaway was always get a second or third opinion. Like
totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Oh my gosh. And so how is baby John now then?
He's amazing.
The greatest.
From day one, he's just been the easiest, best baby ever. He latches and he feeds amazing. He sleeps amazing. He's just so happy. And he was so alert from like day one, like picking up his head and moving it around. And I think that has a lot to do with my birth not being medicated. And
no vaccines either, right?
No vaccines, nothing. No vitamin K, no eye ointment, and
no circumcision, just pure the way God made him.
Yeah. And I think that's why he's the way that he is. He really is the happiest baby ever. He's sleeping right now. He's 4 months old, and he's been sleeping 7 to 7 for 2 months now. Yeah. From like day one, I like had to wake him up to eat from day one. And then like, as soon as he hit his weight, I was like only waking him up every 4 hours, just because I felt like I wanted to get more weight on him because he's a little small. And then like once he hit a nice solid weight, I was like, okay, let's see if he sleeps through the night. And he did.
He's solid. His biggest drawback right now is he's a drooly mess. He's disgusting. He's soaked. He wears these big soaked. It's so gross. I'm like, get away from me, you disgusting little fart monster. But he's the cutest little fucker. I love him so much.
Happy little dude, just slobbering all over the place,
Yeah, he's the greatest. He's rolling around like a madman.
Yeah, he's rolling.
He was doing planks today.
Yeah.
Full planks, holding himself up.
Oh my gosh, he's gonna be an animal. I know it.
Yeah, he's gonna be a
Yeah.
nut job. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I feel like he's gonna be the most grounded, but like super strong and like driven type of person. I bet.
That's what we're wanting.
I just want him to be a good person, kind, but also strong-minded.
Yeah.
A good person. That's all we can.
That's all. Anything to worry about? I don't think you have anything to worry about. You guys are setting such a great example for him, and you're living that. You're living what you want to see in him, which is the best thing that you can do, because that's what's influencing him is watching how you act, feeling your energy, seeing all of it. That's how he learns. And like
energy that's the number one thing. Like if there's any stress, we totally extinguish it.
We run away from it.
We remove ourselves from the situation. If it's not us, like if we're around other people, where me and John will like get up and leave and be like, okay,
we're gone.
We're gone. We don't need this like negative energy. Like,
which is rare because we've been distancing ourselves from that for a while, and we don't really see it. But if and when we do, we're like, all right, gone.
Yeah. And like how we are with each other, like sometimes like I'll have to like take a breath and be like, okay, no, we can't be like this around Johnny. Like we can't bring in this negative energy. Like, yeah, I think that positive, calm nature, it's what makes him such a happy baby. Like calm,
but confident.
Yeah. I never freak out. Like if he's crying, I just like rock him, and like, obviously, like there was some moments that I would get upset and I would be like crying a little with him with my hormones.
Yeah.
But like, I have so much patience with him.
It's growing too. The first like month where he was just a blob and he was crying and there was nothing really you could do to soothe him perfectly. We would both get a little frustrated.
Yeah.
Like, why is he not just instantly calming down? But now at this point, we're just like rolling with it. He cries a little bit, doesn't even affect you or us at all. And he quickly calms down
and starts laughing,
cracking up.
He'll go from crying to laughing
instantly, like cracking up. I think he's just overexhausted sometimes, and he's looping. Yeah, starts cracking while crying.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Good job, guys. Seriously, well done. And I expect baby pictures and then child pictures, Christmas cards. I don't care what it is. Like I want to watch and see, how he develops and grows. And I'm excited to see more. And I'm excited for you guys to eventually, add on to your family too. I think that'll be fun.
Really
and man, I wish I could be your guys' birth photographer. I wish I was the GoPro. Like I want to come and watch so bad. I know. I wish the birth was like perfectly predictable, so that I could be like, okay, like I'm gonna fly there on the 7th. You're gonna give birth on the 8th, and then I'm gonna go home on the 9th. Like that would be so perfect. But maybe like the 3rd I could catch it or something,
Yeah.
Just let me know how you're feeling, and if I'm like in the area or something, I'll make a trip. I'll make a trip up there and come and watch your whole event. Like it just sounds so cool to witness in person, and I'm glad that you got to see it, and you'll definitely have to get some pictures next time. I absolutely freaking adore both of you so much. And again, like it's been such an honor and a privilege to get to work with you guys and to get to witness you on your journey from early pregnancy to birth to motherhood. And now like it's just been one of the coolest things for me to witness. And I am just so grateful that you guys hired me and that we get to have this conversation and I get to share it with my audience. And I think this is going to be so great for some of my girls to watch, so that, because like it's so important to hear this, right? Like how a relationship should be and how it can contribute to the life and the birth and the health of the child that you want. And you guys, again, perfect example. And so thank you so, so much for joining me tonight, guys. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to growing our relationship and being of service to you if you guys ever need me or want me or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
We love
loved
you.
every moment that we were able to spend with you, and can't wait to do it again for the next baby. And
Yeah,
so, like,
we're blessed to have you
yeah.
cross our paths. It's really
Yeah.
amazing. It's the coolest thing ever that we found you, and we've been able to bring you in and
Yeah.
share
And
this with
everybody needs to do it. Like, it's like you spend so much money on the baby and all like the things for the baby, like material
you.
things.
Yeah.
But people don't feel like they want to spend that money on getting themselves mentally ready for it. And
Oh,
it
best
really,
investment
the best
ever.
investment ever
Ever.
was talking to you, and you just put me in totally the right mind space.
The best guide ever. You.
I don't think that my labor would have gone anywhere near as
perfect
as it did to you.
You
Yes,
guys
it
are
was
so
my body,
sweet.
and yes, it was my intuition, but
no,
you
we had a
gave me
million
that
questions.
confidence
We had a
and
million different questions and like what ifs, and you just basically gave both of us the confidence to trust the natural processes that were going to happen on their own, and you were able to declutter Jess's brain and allow her to do it on her own.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I can't thank you enough.
I love you guys. Oh my gosh. You guys are so sweet. Thank you so much. That literally just made my whole life. Seriously, your words, seriously, just melt my heart. And thank you so much again and again. Let me know if you guys ever need anything and you have nothing but my absolute like support and love and just any backing that you ever need. And so it's
Same here.
been the coolest thing. Thank you so much, guys. Well, you guys have a great rest of your night. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you guys for tuning in to episode 8 of the Get Real Girlfriend podcast. I'm so excited about this one. Can't wait for you guys to hear it. And Jess, John, thank you. And you guys have a